The first text I ever sent my son said, "Proud of you." The last text he sent me said I wasn't welcome on a trip I paid $45,000 for. Somewhere between those two messages, I stopped being his father and started being his bank. Welcome to Dad's Pure Revenge. My name doesn't matter yet. You'll have it in a minute. But if you're watching, do me a favor and drop the city you're tuning in from down in the comments. Hit subscribe if you've got a family member who's forgotten what you did for them. Now let me tell you what happened. My wife's name was Beverly, 34 years married, and in every one of them she found some way to give something away. She kept a coffee can on the kitchen counter, not for spare change, for other people's spare change. Neighbors would drop in a few dollars when they had it, and when the Henderson's furnace died one January, that can covered half the repair bill before anybody asked. She drove Miss Odessa from the church 2 streets over to her dialysis appointments every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 years, and never once mentioned it, unless I brought it up first. When our son Clinton got married, Beverly sold her mother's ring, the one she'd always said she wanted buried with, to help cover the difference on the wedding hall, because Clinton and his fiancée had come up short and were too proud to ask. She never told him. I only found out because I was the one who drove her to the pawn shop on 5th Street and sat in the truck while she went in. She got sick in the spring of 2021, pancreatic, 11 months, start to finish. I was there for all of it, and I want you to understand that when I say I planned this cruise, I don't mean I planned a vacation. Beverly used to talk about the places she wanted to see, the fjords mostly, and one little chapel outside Bergen her grandmother had described to her as a girl. She never got there. Somewhere around month 9, lying in that hospital bed at St. Vincent's, she made me promise that when it was over, I'd take the family, all of us, together, to see it for her. Not scatter her ashes there. Just go. Stand where she wanted to stand. She said, "Take Clinton. Let him see what I saw in my head all those years." I promised her I would. My name is Wesley Watson. I'm 61 years old. I run a hardware store on Brookfield Avenue in Dayton, Ohio. The same one my father ran before me. And I've spent most of my life avoiding conflict like it was a hot stove. That's my flaw. And I knew it even then. I don't ask questions when someone I love tells me a number. Beverly could say, "The roof needs $4,000, and I'd write the check without asking which roofer, which quote. Why? I carried that same habit into planning this trip. For 3 years I sent money to a travel agent named Patricia Hollis at a firm downtown, to a cruise line out of Miami, to excursion companies in Norway, and I never once made Clinton put anything in writing about who was actually going, because he was my son, and you don't put your son in writing. The last 2 installments, Patricia had arranged years back to draft automatically once the sailing began, just to spread the cost evenly across the calendar. Neither of us ever thought about what that meant, until it mattered. Thursday, June 4th, 2026, 6:04 in the morning. I remember the time because my phone doesn't usually buzz before 6:30, and the sound of it on the nightstand woke me out of a dream I don't remember anymore. The message was from Clinton. Plans changed. You're not joining the cruise. Danielle wants it to just be her family this time. Sorry, Dad. I read it twice, standing in my kitchen in my socks. The coffee maker not even started yet. I want to be honest with you. My first thought wasn't anger. My first thought wasn't anger. My first thought wasn't anger. I actually walked over to the window like the light would make the words say something different. I called him. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I texted back, "Clinton, this is the trip for your mother. Call me." Nothing for 2 hours. When he finally called, I could hear him in a parking lot somewhere, wind hitting the phone. "Dad, don't make this a thing. Danielle's been under a lot of pressure with her mom flying in from Charlotte, and she just wants it to feel like a family trip. Not a," he stopped there. "Not a what, Clinton? Not a memorial. She says it feels heavy. She wants it to be fun." I stood in that kitchen holding the phone and I didn't raise my voice. I said, "Your mother wanted to see that chapel. I promised her." And he said, "Figure it out, Dad. I gotta go." Then the line went dead. Not slammed, not shouted, just gone, like I was a call he'd finished with. That flat, ordinary click did something to me that yelling never could have. I hung up, and I didn't call him back. Instead, I called Patricia Hollis. It was 4:50 in the afternoon, and she picked up on the second ring, like she always did. Patricia, it's Wesley Watson. I need to cancel the remaining payments on the Bergen cruise. The balance, the excursions, the dinner package I added in March, all of it. She went quiet for a second. Wesley, the sailing date's inside your cancellation window already. You won't get the deposit back. And the last 2 installments are scheduled to draft automatically once the ship leaves port. I can stop that draft on my end, but I want you to understand. Whoever's aboard on that reservation is going to find out the hard way if nobody pays it manually before then. Cancel it, I said. All of it? She did. I sat at my kitchen table afterward and felt something close to relief, which surprised me, because relief wasn't what I'd expected to feel that day. I didn't call Clinton to tell him. I want to be honest about that too. I didn't warn him. I let it sit exactly the way he'd let his mother's chapel sit. I want to tell you about the person who did the opposite that same week, because it matters to where this story goes. Beverly had a hospice nurse in her last 2 months, a woman named Renata Cole, who used to come by even after her shift ended just to sit with Beverly so I could shower or sleep for an hour. Renata still called me every few months to check in. Not for anything, just to check in. That Thursday afternoon, she called like she always did, and when I told her what Clinton had said, she went quiet on the line for a second and then said, "Beverly used to tell me you were the most stubborn, generous man she ever met. I always wondered which one would win out." Then she said, "I'm sorry, Wesley," and she meant it plainly, the way people mean things when they're not performing sympathy for you. Friday morning I drove to the bank, not to do anything dramatic, just to look at the numbers. $45,312, paid out over 3 years for a trip that was now, apparently, a family trip that didn't include the man who'd funded it, or the woman it was for. I sat in my truck in the bank parking lot on Wilmington Pike for a long time. And somewhere in that hour, something in me didn't snap. It settled. It wasn't rage. It was more like watching a light finally turn on in a room I'd been sitting in the dark of for years, and realizing I could see the furniture now, all of it, clearly, for the first time. I called my attorney, Carol Ibsen, the woman who'd handled Beverly's estate paperwork. I told her I wanted to change some things. Beverly's house on Maplewood Drive had been left to me outright, with the understanding, never written, just understood, that it would go to Clinton eventually. I told her I wanted to sell it, and I told her the proceeds, along with what remained of a small trust Beverly and I had built years back, weren't going where they'd been headed. Here's where I have to slow down, because this part still surprises people when I tell it. I remembered something Beverly had said to me near the very end, half asleep on morphine, mumbling names. She'd said Renata's name. She'd said, "Make sure she's taken care of, Wes." She never once took a dime she didn't earn. Renata Cole had a daughter, 17 years old, wanting to go to nursing school the way her mother had, and no way to pay for it. I told Carol to draft a scholarship trust in Beverly's name through St. Vincent's Hospice Program, with the first recipient named outright Renata's daughter, Imani Cole. But I want to be clear about something, because it mattered more to me than anything else in that will. Clinton has 2 children, Grant, who's 7, and Lily, who's 5. None of this was theirs to answer for. So I had Carol write a second trust, separate from anything Clinton or Danielle could touch. A fixed sum for each of them, held and invested until the day each one gets married. Not 18, not 35, not when they need it for a house. Their wedding day, whenever that comes, however far off. And a clause underneath it, in Carol's plainest legal language. If either parent ever attempted to access it, redirect it, or use it as leverage of any kind, the funds for that child